Assalamualaikum. I am Nur Anshaniza binti Mahayudin. My matric number DF170078. Today I will present about our introduction. Okay, workers should be protected from risk through risk management process which involve risk analysis, risk assessment and risk control practice. Recommended that risk assessment should be done at least every year or every time. All of the construction works must follow the guidelines from the Public Safety and Health at Construction Site. Okay, purpose of this guideline is to provide a good work practice and to prevent accident to the workers and public.
My name is Mr. Samsan. So today I would like to present my part, which is methodology part. So for our group, we have three things to do before we try to find the critical hazard. The first thing is risk estimation, risk level, and risk metric. So here is the table of risk estimation, which is we have 5 type of likelihood, and the function of this table is to find the hazardous event that might occur. So this is the evaluation guide. So for each likelihood, we have 5, as I mentioned before, and the difference between of all of this is the percentage of hazard that might occur. For very unlikely, that means the hazard is the percentage of hazard to occur is low, but for very likely, the chances of hazard to occur is very high. And this is the table of risk, which is the risk value for each trade is calculated as the product of consequence and likelihood values, and it was illustrated in a two-dimensional metric that stated here. So this is the definition of each level. We have a low, medium, and high. So for low is very acceptable risk, and medium, the risk can be acceptable for this service, but for each trade, the development of the risk must be monitored on a regular basis. And for high, it very not acceptable risk, and the task cannot be conducted until the risk or hazard have been removed.
Okay, my name is Muhammad Shazmi Masjid Rahman. For another safety hazard is when working near overhead line. It is exposed to a very high voltage of current and can cause shock or burn or also death. Okay, so existing control is OSHA required to work near at least 10 feet away from the supply line, and likelihood is 2, severity 4, and the risk is 8. Okay, for the recommended control measure is before raising or extending equipment capable of reaching power line, check all the direction of the power line first. Okay, for the
I will explain about another 2 more hazard. One is inadequate wiring, which is when the conductor is too small to safely carry the current flowing through it, such as using a portable tool with an extension cord that has a wire too small for the tool. The tool will draw more current than the cord can handle, and this can cause overheating and also create a fire.
I will explain about ground fault on construction site. One of the safety hazard is when a connector is wet or leak. So it will the causes this hazard happen because of the equipment are improperly used and maintained. So existing risk control is we use GFCI. So the likelihood is 3, severity is 5, and risk is 15, and it's considered as high. Recommended control measure for ground fault is GFCI should be well maintained.
So for the safety hazard, the first one is repair electrical appliance at a wet condition area that can cause electrocuted. This is due to the wet condition or water condition of water. And the risk is 25, which is high. And the risk control that can be done is if we can ensure that condition at the workplace is dry. So for the
head hazard is when wall drilling. It is exposure to dust and cause respiratory infection. Okay, for the existing risk control, Technician should wear respiratory protection fit with dust filter, and its likelihood is 3, severity 3, and risk is 9. Okay, so the risk control is exposure duration should reduce exposure duration reduced by job rotation.
And for the second one is electric wiring work, which is when we do wiring work, we tend to stay in one position, which is we call as a quad position and overbending while do the work, and this hazard can cause a back pain and musculoskeletal disorder. It's actually very dangerous for the victim.
Alright.
Thank you.
Other than that, repetitive strain injuries, RSI. Alright, the hazard for RSI is back strain, hand abrasion, and carpal tunnel syndrome. So, the causes this hazard happen because of the overused muscle and tendons, vibrating equipment, and stress. So, existing risk control for RSI, taking regular breaks. So, the likelihood is 4, severity is 4, and the risk is 16. So, it's also considered as high. So, recommended control measure for RSI is using proper industry techniques. That's all from me. Thank you.
So for the hazard, it is due during the walking below the overhead power line during bad weather, and it can cause being struck by lightning and cause brain tumor risk. It due to the radiation from the power line, and the risk is 12, which is medium. And the risk control is not conduct any work during inclement weather and for long period of time near the power line.
Okay, next I will explain about the critical hazard that have been defined in our group, which is safety hazard and health hazard. For safety hazard, it is repair electrical appliances at the wet area, which is can cause the victim to be electrocuted. This actually can be controlled if we make sure the place that we are doing our work is dry and clean, and the risk is 25, which is higher. And for the second one is the repeatedly using heavy equipment, which can cause repetitive stress injury. It's actually the overuse of muscle and tendons in the upper body. This one can be controlled by taking regular breaks from long or repetitive tasks. It's better to take smaller more and more frequent break than one long lunch break, and this hazard is 16, which is also in a high. That's all. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Farhan. I will explain about conclusions. In conclusion, electrical injuries can occur in a variety of ways, including direct contact with electrical energy to potential victim on land, lighting from heat, and flame from ignition of clothing or another combustible materials. Therefore, the result obtained from discuss prove that control measure can avoid the risks and dangers occurring in electrical work on sites.